Traditions and their importance to Native Alaska people. I'd like to start my presentation by reading you a poem by Lois J. Einhorn called Their Spirit Lives On. This poem can be found in the book The Native American Oral Tradition, Voices of the Spirit and Soul by Lois J. Einhorn. Their spirit lives on. They extend through past and future, through time and space. They extend into the past in the voices of their ancestors. Part of them is their philosophy, their teachings, and their traditions. They extend into the present in those they watch grow. Part of them is their dignity, their courage, and their identity. They extend through time and space in those who are not yet born. Through past and future, through time and space, they gave of themselves. And parts of them are in all the people they touched. What is firmly established cannot be uprooted. What is firmly grasped cannot slip away. Their spirits will be remembered, honored, and cherished from generation to generation. I like that poem because it reinforces how long Alaska Native people have been around and how important the traditions are among the Native communities. The traditions are the foundation for their lives, for the way their communities survive and have survived. Oral traditions are basically the way that Native Alaskan people pass on their knowledge, whether that knowledge is subsistence, such as hunting and fishing and gathering, spiritual knowledge, artistic knowledge, or survival knowledge, or just the history of their tribe. All of that knowledge is passed down through oral traditions. These oral traditions are passed along in a variety of ways, including spoken teachings, songs, dances that go along with the songs. A lot of the information that is conveyed is also conveyed through their voices, hand gestures, and movements, which are all used to help tell the stories. All of these things are dependent on the person who is telling the story and what tradition they are passing along, what language they're using, who their audience is. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the stories are always told the same way. They all have the same language. They don't change. They're all told the same way that they were told to the older generations. There are so many reasons why oral traditions are important. These include being connected to the ancestors. This is their history. This is how they learn about their history, of how their tribes came to be, about all of the people that came before them, and all the information that those people had to make their tribes successful and to keep it sustained for so long. Hunting and gathering expertise are some of the knowledge that is passed down. They wouldn't be able to feed their families or themselves. And when I say feed families, I mean the community as a whole, because everything is shared in a tribe. Nobody goes without. If someone gets a moose, they share it. If there's people that can contribute, they still get to take part in the spoils from the hunt. Spiritual practices are another thing that is passed down. Before the missionaries came, there were spiritual systems in place, but the missionaries tried to take all that away by saying it was pagan or heathen. But somehow these tribes used oral tradition to keep all of those traditions there and to not let them fade away. Another important thing is the connection to the natural world. Native Alaskan people know the importance of animals and the land and everything around them. They have an extreme connectedness to it that's reinforced when it's passed down through the generations. They have a respect for the natural world that is not in enough people today. Passing down oral traditions brings a community together, whether it be a potlatch where stories are shared or a get-together where everybody's dancing and singing. One thing stands out to me is that elders play a significant role in this process. They are the main ones that pass along this knowledge to future generations. By listening to the elders, the younger members learn to respect the elders. They learn to learn from them. They learn how to listen. I can't reinforce that enough. They learn to listen, which is a very important skill to have. This story, Raven Brings Light to the World, is one such oral tradition of storytelling. This is a story of creation in the Haida tribe. I was going to tell this story, but I don't think I have the right to orally speak this story. It is listed in my bibliography. I got the story from Myths and Legends. It's a Haida tale of how Raven brought light to the world. Please check it out. It's a really good story. I like this story, and different tribes have different stories and different ways of telling their stories. Some tribes pass down their oral traditions. Some tribes claim ownership of their stories and won't let anybody else share them. The Tlingit don't like to share their stories. They claim ownership of their stories. The Athabascans share their stories. So it just depends on the tribe, which I totally agree with. Cultural revitalization and preservation are very important topics. Without some form of preservation, oral traditions are going to fade away. Some of these stories are not preserved anywhere in written word. Some are recorded in a few places, but not very many. There are groups that work towards revitalization and preservation, and these teach everybody, not just Native Alaskan people, but everyone, that culture is important. No matter what your culture is, it is important. Without cultural preservation, art forms, subsistence skills, survival skills, and numerous other skills and knowledge will just fade into oblivion. The millennia of history of these people will disappear, and that will be a shame. There are cultural revitalization plans that are ongoing, such as the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium and the Alaska Native Heritage Center in Anchorage. The Heritage Center in Anchorage is a very important one because, in keeping with traditions and a way of sharing traditions, only Native Alaska people work there. The center is working to preserve and enhance the art, language, and traditional practices of the Native Alaska people. There are programs for Native Alaskans themselves, and there are also programs to teach the public so that the public can develop an awareness and understanding towards the Native Alaskan community. The consortium works towards promoting traditional knowledge integrated with Western traditions. It's like a mashup, but it's still the traditional practices being passed down and being preserved. Another example of working towards cultural preservation is a group of Native Alaskan elders that got together and discussed a way of beginning revitalization of their culture that worked with educators to find ways to bring traditional knowledge systems, including oral traditions, into the school curriculums. This would enrich the learning experiences for the children. You can read about this in the Anthropology Education Quarterly, an article written by Ray Barnhart and Oscar Coagley called Indigenous Knowledge Systems and Alaska Native Ways of Knowing. It's listed in my biography. I hope through my presentation you've learned a little bit more about what oral traditions are and why they're important, and as well as cultural revitalization and preservation. This can help everybody in their knowledge. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. Cultural revitalization, culture is important. Thank you.